Hello everyone, welcome back to another lesson. So today is the fourth lesson, and today I'm gonna teach you the rook. So it's like one of my favorite pieces. It can go horizontal, like anywhere. It's like a bishop. It can fly across the map. It go horizontal, vertical, and horizontal. It can't go diagonal like the bishop. It's like the opposite of the bishop, but it's worth more. It's it could the other thing is it could like go across, and it could do the same thing as a pin. Like for example, something like this happens. Your rook is here. It's pinning the king and the queen. So this is so obviously the queen have to take the rook, and you're just of material. So it can do the same pinning thing like the bishop. And there's also one interesting thing, the castling. So if you're a low rated player, don't think about it too much. You will eventually learn it in around a couple of weeks or months. So it calls when your king swaps. Like you can't do it when your king I know some people who are bad at chess and they just do it whenever they're in danger. That can't happen. It's only possible when your king haven't moved yet. Like now you can't castle because your kings have moved. Or you can't castle when you're in check. Like for example, the bishop gives the check. So now you have to imagine if there was no piece to protect it. Like I know there's a bishop, but imagine if there wasn't. So obviously I'm not gonna give up a queen. But because if you even do, bishop takes your queen, which is obviously he's gonna ask. You still have to move your king, but you can't castle. And you can't castle whenever your king moves. You can't castle, and like you can do and you can't castle when there's people in between. You can't just jump over them and castle. That's not allowed. When all the pieces move, and your rook shouldn't move. Like if this side rook move, then you have to castle the other side. And if that side rook move, then you can't castle. So castling is a little bit harder. You can learn it in tons of ways. Castling could be important for your king because it gives you in safety, but you have to be very careful that you haven't moved your king or you haven't moved your rooks, and you have to be careful that your pieces aren't in the middle. Or and for example, do not castle in a side where there's a position like this. Do not castle in a side where the position is like this, for example. Because then it's just the open king. Literally just the open king. And the queen, for example, can come and checkmate you somehow. And castling is important, but there's one downside for castling. You have to be careful. Always make whenever you castle, for example, you have to make a ford. You have to make a ford. So what is a fort? So a fort is a breathing room for the king, for example. So this is a fort where your king can escape. And you might be wondering, why would you need that? So eventually in the end game, something when the queens are traded, when all the materials are gone, when you sometimes when you want to gobble up those pawns, and when you're not careful about it. This happens in a couple of positions where the rook gets to your king. Imagine if there were no fort, and eventually somehow you left the open lane, and you're like, haha, I can get out of your pawns, or you hanged your pawns by moving your rook. But then there's a stuff called a back rank checkmate. So your king can't escape because we're gonna learn about the king, but the king can't escape because it can't take his own pieces, and it can't and it only moves one square, and then you lose your king. So it's a checkmate. And yeah, you have to be careful. So that's why you need to make a breathing room. If something like this happens, a background check, you have a space to escape. And then white has still some pieces like this. I mean, my bad. Like white can have this piece, so like they can have their pieces, and then like you can take this. But then like white is way better because all of these pawns are hanging. So you need to make a fort, and you need to be careful in chess that other piece like bishop or rook can't get there, because they can fly across the map and they can attack your king in various situations. So yeah, that's it for today's video about the rook, and today was the 4th lesson. See you in the next video. Next video we're going to learn about the queen.